Salomon to my side. I'm Stuart Brisgell. Welcome to the Rant Network. We're bringing you an unfiltered, uncensored conversation, a wide range of topics. Our podcast is dedicated on giving you the platform or letting you use our platform to express your opinions, and we express ours. Join us. We dive into the latest news, pop culture, and politics, and so much more. From rants about absurdity in modern life to life's discussions about deeper issues affecting society. The Rant Network, we've got you covered. Sit back, relax, join us on this journey of exploration. It's time to join the Rant Network. David, when someone goes and calls the kettle black, or tries to kick the can in someone else's corner, you kind of got to take a pause when their last name is Newsome, and they are in one of the murder capitals of the country with the largest, I think, homeless rate per capita and the largest gun violence per capita. But David, this guy goes and starts bitching about Texas, the tragedy, a tragedy which, you know what? There are 8 families that are in utter tears. I don't know how else to use. David, what do you think about Newsome?
Well, I got to tell you, so first of all, Gavin Newsom is one of those guys who likes to tell you how to live your life, but won't, we know he's the kind of guy who plays by his own rules. Let's take you back only a short few years ago when he told all of California, stay home, don't go to restaurants. And then he goes to a restaurant with his buddies and gets caught with his hands in the cookie jar. And of course, the left always says it's okay. Of course, everything Gavin Newsom does is okay. During his watch, Stuart, as you clearly have said, we've seen San Francisco fall apart. We've seen, gas prices go skyrocket through the roof. We've seen all these kinds of life in California is crap, where people are leaving in groves. And now part of the Gavin Newsom ideology, and we've talked about this, is that they want to do an exit tax. If you want to move out of California, they're going to tax you. Because life is so bad. You have Hollywood stars, Scott Baio, the most recent one, for example, our friend Chachi from Happy Days, saying he's done with California, he's done with the life there. And so many disgruntled people are trying to get the hell out of California. And what does Gavin Newsom do? He's trying to test the water to see if he can be the next president. Clearly, it's not going to be 2024 unless Biden somehow disappears. But he's testing the waters, and he's trying to do a DeSantis-like tour, and he's criticizing, and he loves to poke, of course, at red states. But the funny thing is, when politicians have to smell fires outside of their states, it's because something is burning really bad inside their state. And in this case, ladies and gentlemen, it's about reparation payments to former slave families. I don't know if you've caught this in the news, but yes, that's true. The council, there was a council that was brought together, reparations panel in California, approved a report to repay the families, the descendants of slaves. Now, we're going back to the 1850s and 60s, and California apparently wasn't the worst state. So I don't know how we're going to get this done. But according to the report, and according to economists, the number bandied about to effect these reparation payments hovers in 800 billion. That's 800 with a B. And the California annual budget apparently is 300 billion. So now you've got a whole bunch of arguments saying, number one, the 800 billion is not enough. I don't know how they got a number to this, but apparently we're going to be they're going to dole out millions of dollars to each family, millions. And I mean, this is basically how much money families have lost since 1850, since the state was established, through today, based on this. And the thing is that this is a subjective number, and they're going to come up with this. And it's fascinating because Gavin Newsom, is like, there's a deficit. According to the Gavin, in January, the Newsom, team is declaring a $22.5 billion annual deficit. So the question then becomes, where's this money going to come from? California is already taxed to the gills. It's making Quebec look cheap. It's a highly expensive state. And Gavin Newsom is going to get the money from where to pay everybody. Now, folks, this is not necessarily loved by all. You have a lot of civil rights activists who are saying that this is not the right way to go about it. And then you have many who are feeling this is a great way to steal money from the government. This is going to make up for all the pain. Now, I'm trying to understand one thing. We're going to give the African American community reparations for slavery. What are Native Americans going to do because we stole their land, we've displaced them, we've killed them? What's that calculation going to look like? And where does this end? Gavin Newsom is really, has let the left destroy California, and he's propelled them into the muckety muck that is. And I'm sorry, Stuart, but this idea of paying reparations and this, I philosophically it's interesting, but reality is, I think this is a horrifying disaster.
So on May 7th, 2021, he put together this task force to study the reparations for African Americans. Okay. They believe they are going to tax the rich in California.
Who else are they
Hang on. Now, if you talk to civil rights activists in the United States, they're like, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Most of these people, there were actually blacks that owned slaves in the United States. Did you know that, David?
No.
Yeah, believe it or not. Oh, well, there are blacks that own black slaves. So the question is, the responsibility. Isn't it a horrible thing in history that there were slaves? Absolutely. There have been slaves for thousands of years in the world. No different than the Native American Indians, Native Canadian Indians, even though they both don't want to be called Canadian or American Indians. But, there are thousands of people, tribes that no longer exist, whether it's Jews in Egypt, whether it's gypsies in Germany, Jews in Germany, gays in Germany. They were slaves, right? So are we paying reparations to all of those people as well?
Well, hold on. Germany did pay reparations. Let's be realistic.
To who?
Post World War II, to the immediate descendants, to survivors, and to the immediate descendants. Germany did pay its fair share of reparations until recently. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Till recently, but that didn't cover remember back in those days, people that were gay and murdered as being gay were not a number. They were just a number. They were not a number of a group. They got no reparations. The only people that got reparations were Jews and gypsies. That's it. Anyone else got nothing. There are land, there are buildings. I met a guy named Chad Rubin who had a company and sold it and made a lot of money. He's now a big advocate for ChatGPT online. This guy had the government house belonged to his family in Romania. And he won a court case after 50 years to get the building back, and they had to buy the building back from him. But again, going back to Gavin Newsom is, how are we ever going to know where these people come from and prove who they were? I mean, really, it's just...
But wait, there was one more piece of the calculation. And the calculation was also they're adding the form of discrimination. That it's what they're saying right now in the calculation is since 1850 to today. So that's slavery plus discrimination. So what they're saying is if you're a 71-year-old person, I mean, this is the numbers that I was reading this morning, and you lived your entire life in California, you could potentially receive $1.2 million. So now you have to think about it, not just a descendant of slavery, but because of discrimination, they're going to pay you cash. Now, there was a concept of trying to do housing grants and tuition reimbursements, and of course that was thrown out. They want hard cash. So you're going to bankrupt the state of California, essentially, to repay, African Americans. And then what? Where does it end? To me, it's like I think that this is not. I don't think that giving people cash is the solution. But like there's to me there's just something like eerily wrong about putting a dollar amount to this and saying, okay, I'm going to pay you now. Now it's over, and now we're good, and we'll bankrupt California. And Gavin Newsom, by the way, by the time all this goes through, won't be governor of California anymore because his
Nope.
terms will be up.
Oh, David, you can't make this shit up.
No, but
It's like these politicians sort of play, they prey on the wishes and dreams, like the college, wiping out everyone's college debt. Why don't we start off with firefighters, policemen, and public school teachers? Which there are some programs, but not a heck of a lot. Why don't we focus on the infrastructure of those people that keep our society moving?
well,
Why are we constantly going to these quote diversity issues that really, in my opinion, are it's a valuable cause, but this is a cause that should be taken up within that community. I
because I'll
don't
tell you,
believe this is everyone's problem. My family's not from this country. My family and your family are from another part of the
yeah,
world.
but here and you
And
know
by
what?
the way, we were also within the U.S. immigration system not considered white. We were considered of color. So what is the difference of literally of being picked on, right? That's basically what it is, being put into slaves, prohibited from joining clubs, riding on buses, being a member of groups. That is the same thing. It's just we're a milkier color
Well,
of not white.
but let's be realistic, okay? And we've seen this, by the way, this money for vote concept, by the way, in so many places, because I saw this in Canada in a Canadian election. We've seen this in a lot of places. I'm going to buy your vote, and what this does for Gavin Newsom is send a message to not only the African American community across the United States, but to those folks on the left who feel that this is the way we are. Capitalism is bad, and that should be a socialist state, and CRT and all the stuff that they love to throw out there. Gavin Newsom is going to pay for the mistakes of the white
No,
man in
no,
the past,
David,
and I think
David,
that
David.
that
This is
is.
this is this is sugarcoating the Soviet Union's
Oh,
and
he'll go back to
Soviet
no. We're
era.
not. No, 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 no. We're not going to the Soviet Union here. This is not about communism because communism nobody had a vote here. This is pure,
Hundred
pure,
percent,
pure. This is
hundred
pure. No, no.
percent.
This is pure, 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 pure buying the vote. And Stuart, let me just put it this way, okay? And Scott Baio, who's leaving California, put it very succinctly. Okay, he talked about the fact that California isn't focusing on its real problems: homelessness, crime. If you focused on that and fixed it, then the place would be a better place to live. But you know why you can't do that? Because that doesn't get you votes.
Nope.
Paying people, and finding that cause that works. But that doesn't teach anybody anything. That doesn't change anything. That's not going to keep racism away. It's just a way to buy votes.
David, on that note, it's time to end this rant for today. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Rant Network. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, gained some insight. Clearly, I'm getting tons of it. We appreciate your support and hope you'll join us next time for another thought-provoking conversation every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on social media. Guys, very important. And share your thoughts with us. Comment. Remember, we're always interested in hearing from our viewers, learning about other and new topics that matter most to you. Again, thank you for joining and listening. Keep on ranting.